What is about? There's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
We're digging under the airwaves of mainstream radio in the case of misstep music.
You can expect to hear songs that don't get played from the artists you know and love.
Funk to punk,
Rock to reggae.
hip-hop to doo-wop.
Look beneath the surface of the mainstream.
The music may surprise you and expand your musical cuisine.
Join us, Ryan
And Emma,
for a time warp into History Repeating.
welcome back to the second episode of History Repeating.
I mean, we're so excited for this episode. Last week, we got to interview Sally Carr and Ken Andrew of Middle of the Road. And this week, we have a legendary South African musician, Cindy Alter, who was originally in the band Clout, they were huge in the 70s and 80s. And then she went on to become a really incredible songwriter when she went solo.
I think Cindy's really a piece of South African history too, because at the time it was a lot of, I guess, political tensions, and you can really tell how she was part of, but really like the international music influence and just the South African music scene that kind of grew at that time.
Yeah, because at the time, obviously, with everything that was happening politically, South Africa was kind of separated from the rest of the world, and so, as Cindy said, they kind of had to make their own kind of music there. There wasn't as much outside influence, and it was really interesting. So why don't we listen to Cindy and hear her telling about growing up in South Africa and what the music scene at the time was like.
South Africa was an amazing music scene, a lot of great local artists, but sadly, there was not a lot of international content because South Africa was in the throes of the political situation, apartheid. So the whole world had boycotted us. So they wouldn't let artists come from overseas because they were boycotted. And we weren't allowed to go overseas because we were boycotted. So it was very much what we heard on the radio and our local bands, which were many and very good. So I think because of that, the local scene flourished and really was quite outstanding because we didn't have other bands, coming in and us to go and see them and stuff like that. We had to create our own sound, which of course was based on what overseas bands were doing and stuff like that. But then, of course, South Africa had a different kind of take on things.
So it was really interesting to hear what the music scene in South Africa was like at the time. And the first song that we're going to do, that we're going to play, is a Clout song that Cindy kind of said made the band, taken a bit more seriously from kind of like a pop band into more of a rock-oriented band, still keeping the pop sound a lot, but getting more into rock. So this is Under Fire.
Experimental, adjutant of love I
Fire is such a powerful song, and it really has a really strong 80s sound to it. And the harmony is just, everything's so layered and just, it's like a great.
Yeah, and you can really see how it kind of was getting a bit more rock oriented from previous stuff the band did. And again, Cindy, incredible vocalist at the time, and very young. She would have been in her early 20s. So this is it was really interesting to kind of hear what Cindy had to say about the song. She didn't get to pick the songs that she was doing at the time. It was her producer that did it. But of course, as a singer, you obviously interpret a song in a certain way. So this is what Cindy kind of remembered about Under Fire.
Under Fire also, great experience. It was just more, we were getting more meatier, you know, songs were getting a little more rock oriented, you know. We were becoming a rock band as opposed to a girly pop band, you know. Definitely we were evolving. I didn't want to be a full-on rock band. I loved the rock pop thing.
I think Substitute is such a big song for Clout. It really catapulted them into fame, I think. And originally it was by the Righteous Brothers who wrote it. It was a more of like a soul feel to it, but Cindy really leads this really like pop, like powerful version of the song.
And I mean, it was huge. It was like the first song that they had that it just like blew up, and it became massive all over Europe and Australia. And of course South Africa, and it even did fairly well in North America, but it was really, she was very young, and it was kind of just like launched her into stardom. So, but Cindy, she managed to keep herself grounded, and one of the few artists to do that. So she was really kind of lucky, I guess, in a sense. She says about having her parents who kind of help keep her grounded. And so I mean, I guess the best person to say this is Cindy herself. So why don't we take a listen to Cindy talking about what it was like with this big hit. And then we're going to get to see a really interesting performance of Substitute, which was done with the original band during COVID lockdown. They did it kind of like an on Zoom type of a thing. They're all at their own like homes, and they're playing their parts. So that's really interesting. So enjoy these next two parts on an incredible song by an incredible band.
Firstly, music was all I ever wanted to do. I'd been studying drama and speech. I'd almost got my degree in that, and then Clout started, so I stopped. I could have got my teacher's diploma, so I could have been a qualified drama teacher. So it was always drama and music. The acting thing wasn't something I ran for. The music was. The music just seemed to develop naturally. So for me, my dream was always just to sing, be on stage, have a band. It was never like I'm going to be a big star. I want to be a big star. It was never that thought. It was just I want to play music in front of people. And suddenly I did. And it was huge, you know, suddenly being a big star. I started in Clout, I was 19 turning 20, and I was 20 years old when we recorded that song, I think, or 20, maybe 21, probably 20. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect so much success. So it was all the dreams that one has as a youngster, young person being in the music industry, all your dreams come true at once. Suddenly you're a big rock star, pop star, whatever. You're being picked up by limos, you're being flown overseas, you are in beautiful hotels, people are running at you, wanting your autograph. It's huge. It's something that you are not prepared for. Nobody can prepare you for that. You got to keep your head.
You've been loyal, true and faithful all this time.
after Substitute, Clout really, I think, grew in band members also, and they had their new song "Save Me," which you can really hear a lot of maybe ABBA harmonies as Cindy talked about, a lot of influence there, especially maybe from European influence.
So this is what Cindy had to say about the song. Even though she didn't write it, she definitely remembers it.
Such a fun song. It's like such a really 80s, 70s kind of vibe. Save Me also, we went into studio, I recorded the vocal, and then the other girls would come in and do all the backup vocals. I would also sit in on backup vocals. So it was we used to do a lot of layered harmonies to get that big harmony sound, which today is not big anymore. People don't do harmonies much. They'll do it on the country artists, but not many rock artists and stuff. There's very, very little of that. But it was a very important part of our thing. I think we were sort of like a mini ABBA, lots of harmonies, big productions. So great song. And it was a big hit. I mean, in Germany, it was even bigger in some ways than Substitute because they just went mad for that song.
Save me, take me away to the moonlight. The people around me don't feel right. What are we doing? Save me, take me away from the action. For you are the only attraction. Take me away from here. The party's on.
So this was actually Save Me. It's my personal favorite Clout song, and you can really hear the big production, like the harmonies, the layered kind of style this song had.
I think it also has a like kind of a 1950s influence with the lyrics, especially kind of like doo-wop a little bit, but more of a like a rock feel to it with Cindy's really like powerful lead vocals.
And that was like a thing in the 70s, with like Grease, kind of around the same time, within probably less than a year of this song coming out. It's kind of like the thing, to bring back the 50s, the doo-wop type of a sound, but then like update it, whether it be like maybe rock, pop, disco, whatever you were going to do, you were taking the 50s kind of doo-wop and bringing it in. And Cindy loved this song too, even though she didn't write it. Her producer, he picked all the songs for Clout. But for the most part, Cindy said that she liked them. But there was one song called Sunshine Baby, which she, to say the least, was not a fan of. So why don't we take a listen to hear Cindy's opinion on that?
There's one song on our new album, our new compilation album is called Anthology. And there's one song he picked, the record company picked it to put on there. I hate the song. I think it's the stupidest song I've ever heard in my life. So it's not like I loved every single song. I loved a lot of them, though.
Sunshine Baby.
That's the one I hate. I think that's the stupidest song I've ever heard in my life.
I never actually really listened to the lyrics so much. It's kind of one of those songs that it's like, I'm not really paying attention to what it's saying. It's more...
But it's like a fun song. Yeah, it was a reggae kind of vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of like upbeat.
Yes.
Kind of...
Everybody loves it. I can't stand it.
Sunshine, baby, right on through the night. You're my disco dancing daddy. You're doing it right. Sunshine, baby. Get it on music, child.
It's really interesting how Cindy thinks about Sunshine Baby, especially because currently she's writing a lot of mostly poetic songs, and there's just a lot of difference. I think it is a really fun song, but I guess compared to now, she might have different feelings about it.
Yeah, and it is one of those songs. It's just a fun song. It's got a good kind of beat, the reggae beat to it. Other people, a lot of fans of Clout, they like that song. Cindy, I can see why. The lyrics are really not the best. But it's one of those songs that, the lyrics don't really matter.
It's like a feel-good song.
Yeah.
Good dance, groovy song.
Yeah. But of course, Cindy's then went on and to become an incredible songwriter. Her lyrics are so good. And she's been a songwriter for a long time, but it wasn't until she went solo that she kind of was able to do her kind of writing. She wasn't able to produce her songs. And you can really hear how incredible her lyrics became. They're she has a very unique and interesting way of looking at songwriting. So why don't we take a listen to hear about how Cindy started off with her songwriting and how she goes about it.
Being a South African, of course, I would write mostly what I heard on the radio. I would write pop music or rock music. But the one band I was in was called Zia. You should look that up too. It was a fun band. It was a African rock band, sort of all mixed up. And there was a lot of African influence in that. My writing was African pop, but before that and since then, it's always been more sort of conscious rock pop scene. And even living in Nashville, I'm not writing country music. I started playing the guitar when I was about 10 years old. My mom had a guitar and I started playing around with it and figured it out. And she gave me a book of chords. And that's how I learned. I never learned to read music. And the songwriting thing started when I was about 14 or 15. I always used to, ever since I can remember, I used to write journals. So I would write words and stuff that I was feeling, but it would always end up being rhymey and kind of poetry. And I thought, okay, so that's what I am. I'm a musician, I'm a writer. And then I only later started putting things to music. So I'll say when I was about 14 or 15, I started writing songs.
And you can really tell in Cindy's work how incredible of a songwriter she is. And we'd like to play her latest one, even though she is coming out maybe with some new music. She's always writing, but this song it came out, it's incredible, the story behind it. She was inspired to write this song before COVID, and the song is called Last One Standing, so why don't, I think if you're listening, you should really pay attention to the lyrics, and it's kind of just how incredible it is that she was able to come up with this before any of this happened, and now look at how much that song means to people now after everything that we've been through. So this is Cindy talking about Last One Standing.
Fight. All we ever do is fight. Are we ever gonna learn? Or are we ever gonna learn? Dream. All we ever do is dream, because reality stings and leaves us breathless. And when our time is over and we've lived enough, can we look over our shoulders and see everything was love? When the curtain falls and we hear the chorus, we'll be the last one standing. Sing, all I ever did was sing. Sometimes it didn't mean a thing, because nobody was listening. Feel like every moment was so thin, like was tearing at my skin and leaving me hollow. When my time is over and I've lived enough, can I look over my shoulders and see everything was love? When the curtain falls and I hear the chorus, will I be the last one standing? When the stage is bare and there's no one there, will I be the last one standing? 'Cause all I ever did was run, 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 like someone chasing with a gun, gun, gun. Will I ever be the one, the one? All I ever did was run, 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 like someone chasing with a gun, gun, gun. Will I ever be the one to say, I'll be the last one standing? I'll be the last one standing. I'll be the last one standing, yeah. The last one, the last one. Fight. All we ever do is fight. Are we ever gonna learn? Or are we ever gonna learn? When the curtain falls and I hear the calls, will I be the last one standing? When the stage is bare and there's no one there, will I be the last one standing? When the curtain falls and I hear the calls, will I be the last one standing? Oh, the last one, the last one, the last one, the last one, oh, the last one standing. The last one, the last one standing. The last one.
So this is the story behind Last One Standing and Cindy's experience.
It was a powerful one for me. I wrote that just before COVID. It was like a premonition song that I thought something big was coming. I didn't know what it was. I thought, are we all going to survive whatever's coming? Why am I writing about me being the last one standing? And I thought, oh, well, I'm sort of the last one standing in the music business. I'll still be standing there with a little flag saying, I'm still here, I'm still here. And then I realized it was a bigger story. It was about everybody. Whoever's here now, we are the last ones standing. We survived this huge pandemic.
I think this song is such a powerful link to her own experiences and also like everyone's experience after the pandemic. But it's really nice to hear about kind of her life through the song also.
And it really shows Cindy's not slowing down. She still can write and sing incredible songs. And she actually may be in the works with some new music. So why don't we take a listen to hear what Cindy has planned coming up in the future.
I think I will always record my stuff. I've actually just started recording some demos, putting some stuff together with a dear friend of mine who's got a great studio, and he's a really awesome musician as well. So I think I'll always be recording for myself. There's possibly a new album, I never know. It's sometimes I say, hey, I've got enough songs for an album, why don't I record an album? So I think I'm heading there, but of course, all my songs are available to be recorded by other artists. Even if I've recorded them for myself, I'm not precious about them. They don't belong to me. I've always thought of songwriters, we are messengers. We get some kind of inspiration from somewhere, and we just write the story. It doesn't belong to us. It's not like, oh, I'm such a genius. Look what I've done. I'm just the conduit. That's a good word.
So it was really interesting to hear how Cindy's recording now and what that's like now, what she has coming up. But just to kind of jump back to the past, to hear an album track that she did with Clout. And you may be surprised to hear who does the arrangements on this song. See if you maybe can figure it out who was big at doing string arrangements in the 70s. I'm pretty sure most people are going to know his name when they hear it. And if they don't know his name, they would know his band. So this is Don't Hold Back.
I wanna tell you that I really care for you. It's kinda hard to say, but it's been on my mind for days. I love you, you love me. Together we have a real fine time, but we don't know what it's like to be together. Body, soul, and mind, darling. You can't hold back. If you really mean it, don't hold back. Just show me the love you feel. And when it's cold out, you curl up close to me. And for the moment, you close your eyes and sigh. You touch me, I touch you. But baby, there's so much more. There's a whole world to discover, darling. You can't hold back. If you really mean it, don't hold back. Just show me the love you feel. Show me you mean it. Can't you see? Ooh, can't you see? I dedicate my love to you. I dedicate my life just for you. No, there are some that flaunt their love so freely. Oh yeah, out of desperation or despair, or when they care to. This is not the same. No, no, this is not the same. Darling, you can't hold back. If you really mean it, don't hold back. Darling, you can't hold back. Darling, you can't, no, you can't hold back. No, 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 no. Darling, you can't hold back.
I love that song. I thought it was, baby, don't hold back. Do 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 do. Great song. But baby. But people loved the song because it had strings, everything. All our strings were done by his name escapes me. The guy from ELO, from Electric Light Orchestra.
Jeff Lynne?
They did all our strings. He did all our strings for all our albums.
So, as Cindy said, that was Jeff Lynne of ELO that did all the string arrangements, not just on that song, but on all the Clout songs. And it really adds to the song, really builds up in that chorus.
I think it adds so much like richness and emotion to the song. Like it's more like a classical add to the pop music that you can hear.
It was a really underrated song. It was just an album track. It wasn't a single or anything, but I think it's one of my favorites of the Clout songs. And of course, Cindy, during her time with Clout, she was writing songs. They just weren't the songs that Clout was recording. She's been writing forever, and it's really interesting to hear how she writes a song. And it's a really, really fascinating to hear from a songwriter how they go about writing a song. So this is Cindy and kind of her process on how she writes a song.
Yeah, I just get ideas. I'll just get a line in my head. It might not even have words. It'll just be like, and then sometimes words will come like, I was thinking, I was sitting, I was doing something now. And suddenly it's just there. And then I always record it on my phone, on my voice notes, voice messages, vocal recorder, whatever it is. And then I'll go back to it and I'll say, well, this is worth taking a stab at, or this is worth working on. So that's how it goes for me. You know what? Even when you're finished, you sometimes will tweak it for ages. Like there's a song that I've had. I wrote it when I was in America. I was living in LA. I wrote it in probably about 2000, maybe around there. And it was done. I recorded it. And then I've been messing with it for the last 3-4 months. Totally changed the choruses. It's a totally different chorus. Now I know it's done. So sometimes you'll go back to a song and sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll think it's done. But then again, I was talking about this yesterday. I did a podcast with somebody. And she said, in the studio, how do you know when you're done? I said, you can sit there in the studio and you can mix yourself into oblivion. But eventually you've got to say, this is it. This is the mix. Otherwise, you're never going to get out there. You're always just going to be a star in your own living room and never get out and finish it. So I think you've got to just know when enough is enough.
It's really incredible to hear how Cindy makes her songs, especially from experience or kind of writing in her journals, as we heard earlier. And I think that also adds into her song Thrive, which we're going to hear.
And really, really incredible song.
Been a long dusty road, done it all on my own, through fire and rain, and I do it all again. Sometimes I found myself lost along those bridges I've crossed, but the lessons I've learned outweighed the bridges I've burned. And I don't care if I've got nowhere to go, I don't care if I'm all alone. All I know is the fire inside burns bright. I'll do more than survive, I'll thrive. Right from wrong, think I wrote some good songs, try to stay on the track, love a man who couldn't love me back, but every time I lose faith, somehow I just find my way. When I feel I'm not worth a damn, someone shows me that I am. I don't care if I've got nowhere to go, I'm all alone. All I know is the fire inside burns bright. And I don't care. I don't care. All I know is the fire inside burns bright. Under more than survive, I'll thrive.
So as you could hear, Thrive is a really incredible song, and as Cindy said, it kind of represents her entire life in that one song, and really, really powerful kind of story behind how she wrote it. So this is Cindy telling me about how she wrote the song Thrive and how it came at a very important time in her life.
Thrive was very much about a stage of my life when I was back in South Africa after living in America, and I was going through a tough time because sometimes you just don't know where to go, and you're putting in so much effort and putting in so much work, and nothing's really happening, and you just think, why am I doing this? It's almost like I think being in the music business is being in an abusive relationship where you can't leave it. You keep getting abused, but you just can't leave it. And I was going through one of those times and saying, why do I keep doing this to myself? I keep going back to this abusive, bloody relationship. And this friend of mine said, go and talk to somebody. I've got a friend who's a life coach. She might be able to sort of get you back on track. And I went and I spoke to her, and she said, tell me your story. And I gave her a story, and she was like, wow, you are such a survivor. You've had so many things happen to you, but do you know how to thrive? And I was like, what kind of word is that? I know the word, but thrive? And boom, suddenly it just came to me. I went home and I wrote that song.
One of those like perfect stories of how that came about, how you just heard it and
I
the
heard
song
it.
came.
Just happened. This is what I have to write about, and that was my life story in a song.
Well, Cindy just knows really how to write the perfect song. Like, I think her lyrics really speak to everyone and also kind of take her back to her own personal story. Just really interesting how she fits in her personal kind of views and everything into her music. Like,
It's a really incredible way how that song came about, just hearing the word thrive and how she was just so inspired and that everything just kind of came together. You can really tell when you hear that song, it's like something about it. It's one of those very powerful songs. And Cindy she's such a grounded person, and that comes across in her songwriting. She's a very kind of humble person for how incredible she really is. And she gave a really good answer. I thought it was just a perfect answer to how she would like to be remembered.
Decent, caring human being who made an impression on people for being a decent, caring human being. And if they remember me, oh my God, she was such a great musician and she had such beautiful songs, that's also lovely.
So that was probably, it's just, you can't really compare the answers on how people would like to be remembered. It's just such a good, an incredible way to hear from such a legendary artist to just be so humble and so grounded about it.
Her words are so powerful, and even the way she was speaking to you is just so poetic and kind of ties into her music and just everything about her, really.
Yeah, she really has an incredible look at life. How she views and sees everything. It's true artist. You can really tell. And as she said, she didn't just start out that way. It took her time to get there. Definitely a lot of growth in her work from her days from Clout to the end.
Her music just really evolved, and she was a part of so many bands. Also, her band Zia, I think, which had a lot of South African influence in it.
Which we definitely we recommend that you check out Zia. we didn't have time to get to that, but Cindy did mention in the interview about Zia to check them out, and they're very, very good.
Yeah.
First band that she was in. But no, we were so excited to do Cindy because Substitute was one of the songs that we discovered on this show last year. It was one of the songs that we had played, and so it was really interesting and exciting. I wasn't expecting to, when I heard Substitute, I wasn't expecting such an incredible artist to be behind it. And
she's just like a really inspiring person, and just her music is, I guess, made to heal the world, kind of.
Yeah.
And people.
And I, as much as I love the Clout stuff, I gotta say her solo work is just remarkable. It's really incredible songwriter, and obviously she's always been a really good singer. But it's really great to hear her songwriting. So, thank you for listening to our interview and our show on Cindy Alter. And next week, we're really excited. We're going to have Valerie Holiday of the 3 Degrees, which that was such a fun interview to do. So thank you for joining us. And if you haven't seen episode 1 with Sally Carr and Ken Andrew, definitely recommend you check that out. And until next time, this has been
History repeating.